Network Interference is produced and distributed by Lunavox. Lunavox, that's the name we came up with. Please stand by.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Network Interference. My name is Shane and I'm joined by
Marlowe.
I was going to say
remember?
that. I remember it this time.
Good.
It's
really, about time you remember my name.
You really beat me to it this time. Marlowe, you know that I like to begin this program with a bit of rambling and maybe some reminiscing.
Yeah,
And
that's always nice.
sometimes a little bit of rambling and reminiscing at the same time. And I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent and I'll talk about this, that, and the other and really just go on and on and on and on and on and on about things. But I don't have time to do that today.
Why not?
Because we have so much to cover.
All right.
On this special episode of Network Interference. I say it's special because it really is special to my heart. This is about what? What is the episode
about? Saturday morning
That's
cartoons.
it. That's why I'm so excited about it. Did you have Saturday morning cartoons? I know we watched cartoons when you were younger, but I think Saturday morning may have died down by then.
Yeah, I didn't have any Saturday morning cartoons like what you've talked about. And so I've been excited about this podcast because I kind of want to live vicariously through you, just because I didn't get to experience waking up in the morning on a Saturday and turning on the channel to my favorite show.
You know, our friend Ben
Yes, we
is
love Ben.
a fan of Saturday morning cartoons. He's still watching them.
That means he really likes them.
I know. He went out and bought a bunch of DVDs and
only watches them on Saturday, right?
That's all he watches on Saturday. That's all he does. That's all he does on Saturdays. He wakes up just like he did 30 years ago, gets him a big bowl of Fruit Brute.
Fruit Brute?
He gets him a big old bowl of Fruit Brute, just goes to town on the Fruit Brute, and just watches Saturday morning cartoons all day long.
Well, then we need to get him on here.
Hello?
Hey, Ben.
Hi.
Hey, Shane.
It's Shane and Marlowe. That's right. It's both of us.
What's going on, guys?
We're recording a new episode of Network Interference, and we thought you might want to be a part of it.
Oh, man, that would be fantastic. Let me put my bowl down and turn off the Jetsons, and I will be right with you. Sadly, they no longer make Fruit Brute cereal. I am reduced to Lucky Charms, and they're magically delicious, so they got that one.
Ben, today's episode is about Saturday morning cartoons.
Do you have any
Oh,
favorites?
I would be quite prepared to talk on that subject if that were the case.
Oh, yes.
Good.
That's what we're doing. Saturday morning cartoons.
There's no better topic.
I am absolutely giddy at this point.
When did you start watching the cartoons on Saturday mornings, Ben?
My mother tells me that I would peek over the edge of the crib and watch Tennessee Tuxedo. And I absolutely adored it as a child and watched that. I watched Wacky Races. So I was born in 65, and these are shows that came out 65, 66, and I remember them particularly well. I was 4 years old when Scooby-Doo came out.
Right, 1969.
It could not be more perfect. To this day, I will sit and watch Scooby-Doo with a bowl of cereal, and I will not be any happier than I am at that moment. So
I love that.
There's something innocent. There's some nostalgia. It was just a great time. Will I be a spaceman or a caveman today? I haven't decided.
And Scooby-Doo's been popular since 1969. There was always a Scooby-Doo throughout the 70s.
Yeah,
it was different
it might have not been
versions.
called Scooby-Doo.
Sometimes it was Scrappy-Doo with Scooby-Doo, and sometimes it was Scooby-Doo Laugh Olympics, where he's doing sports and competing with the other cartoons in that shared Hanna-Barbera universe.
Yeah, I watched that earlier today as the Yogi Yahooies and the Really Rotten.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They were divided into teams.
3 teams. It was the Scooby Doobies. That was Scooby and his team. And then there was the Yogi Yahooies with Yogi Bear and his team. And then the Really Rottens made up of Dick Dastardly. And
the villains.
They were the villains, and they cheated every time. Also, right after Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, an hour-long show came out called the New Scooby-Doo Movies.
Right. That's where they hung out with Batman and Robin and
Don Adams and
the actor. That's right. Well, I just love the fact that Scooby-Doo and Batman exist in the same universe.
Sure, we had it all.
So
When I was a boy, we had to build our own television sets from hickory wood.
that's right. And there was usually one television set, one color television set in the house.
Which could be a little annoying.
There
I
are
would say.
three in the 70s. There are three networks. Saturday mornings go for about 4 hours, but you have to choose one of the three networks at a time.
Yeah.
When you had a show on NBC and another show on CBS that you wanted to watch, and you had to choose between the two.
That could be a hard decision.
It was a hard
depending on
decision.
The shows.
Let me start in 1975. Let's look at the schedule here. Let's try to
Okay.
make some decisions. First off, you got Pebbles and Bam Bam at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm not interested. The reason I didn't watch it was because it was up against Hong Kong Phooey, a really cool show. I thought
What was it about?
it was about a dog that knew Kung Fu.
Oh,
And he
It was
solved
about a dog who was voiced by Scatman Carruthers.
Scatman Carruthers.
It cannot be
Just
it
the
cannot be
greatest.
understated how super cool that he was. He was absolutely useless. He was a janitor at the police station.
That's right.
He had this book that taught him kung fu, and he really thought that he was something, but he just managed to mess up everything he did. But he had a cat with stripes on it, and its name was Spot.
That's right. The cat
Oh.
named Spot with
was
stripes.
actually pretty smart, and every time Hong Kong Phooey would mess up, Spot would save him, and Hong Kong Phooey would think that he had solved the problem. So he kept going on thinking he was super. Oh man, do you recall the theme song, Shane?
Hong Kong Phooey. Was it number one
Hong
super
Kong
guy?
Phooey. Bigger than the human eye. It was fantastic, and so yeah, more than likely I was watching Hong Kong Phooey because it just doesn't get any better than Hong Kong Phooey.
This is also a year that season 2 of Land of the Lost, there were a lot more live action shows than I actually remember.
Yes, be still my beating heart. I lived for Land of the Lost. I thought that was the greatest show at one time in
One
my
of the
life.
best ones, yes.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You know, there you had action, you had adventure, they were in trouble. Yeah, the dinosaurs were cheesy, but I'm 9. I'm ready to buy into it.
At 10 o'clock on CBS, it's the Shazam ISIS Hour. This was live action too. ISIS came on first for half an hour, followed by Shazam, and they were in the same universe, so I believe they crossed over a few times.
They
And
did.
I got to tell you, I loved ISIS. I thought she was great. I didn't like Shazam as much, but I really did dig ISIS.
You know, I think it has a lot to do with that costume design.
She was cute. She was hot.
No, I was talking about Shazam. Shazam's costume was
Oh.
But I loved the show because it was a superhero show and we finally got something. And do you recall why he had to shout Shazam to transform?
That was the first letter in the different gods' names or
Yeah.
something like that. Was it
Solomon,
Greek god?
Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. Yeah, great stuff, man. It got me through a whole lot of stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Ben's walking around in the mid-70s going, Shazam! Shazam! Nothing's happening. Shazam!
Do not tell me that no time in your life did you wrap a towel around your neck and put a paper bag over your head and poke holes out of it and go, I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
That's right. How happy were you at 9 o'clock the next year, 1976, when Jabberjaw premiered on ABC?
I get no respect. No respect.
Yeah. Isn't it like jabba jabba jabba
I
jaws?
loved Jabber. They called him Jabber, 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 Jabber.
Yeah.
Jabba, 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 jaw.
I could not get enough of Jabberjaws. I love those larger-than-life creatures that were childlike, heart of gold. They meant well, but so big they tore everything up. So dumb they messed everything up. Yeah, I like Jabberjaws.
Jabberjaw was great. That was one of my favorites.
I'd say Jabberjaws is a clone of Scooby Doo.
That was Scooby-Doo underwater in the future. The dog's a shark instead.
Yep.
And they're still solving mysteries.
Yep.
Josie and the Pussycats and Josie and the Pussycats in outer space.
Yes.
Similar thing. It's a gang. They got a band. They solve mysteries. They do things.
One that I liked a lot, I'm not sure what year it was, but it was Butch Cassidy. But it
Oh,
wasn't
yep.
the cowboy Butch Cassidy.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids.
Yeah, Butch
And it's
Cassidy
the same
is-
name.
That's right, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids. And it's Scooby-Doo, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
Solve
basically-
mysteries. They have
or
a
they're
dog.
no, they're teen spies.
Oh, they're spies.
They're teen spies with a dog named Elvis.
It's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids, and they're not cowboys, and they
No.
have a dog named Elvis who's not a singer.
Nope.
It's a great theme song. It's all I remember.
Do you have a little bit of it? Can you sing?
Butch Cassidy, come along with me. Butch Cassidy. It's a really great song. Don't remember much about the show, but I did watch the show because I like that theme song. Butch
Right.
Cassidy, come along with me. It's one of my favorite Saturday morning theme songs.
SATURDAY, night. Yeah.
Some good
Yeah,
songs.
Marlowe.
There's some good songs. SATURDAY, night. The Bay City Rollers were from Bay City. You know that.
Okay.
And
That'd
they
be
were
San
rollers.
Francisco, right?
It's
They're rollers?
no, this
Like
was
roller
live
skaters?
action, like rock and rollers, Marlowe, like
okay.
rock
They
and
had
rollers.
legitimate
Okay.
hits on Billboard.
They sure did. It was kind of like the Monkees, I guess, but I don't believe that they were as goofy and silly as the Monkees.
The Monkees made me the man I am today. I watched the Monkees and I said to myself, that looks great. I want to live with a bunch of guys on the beach and make music with my band and live a goofy lifestyle. And I did all of that except live on the coast. So, good times. So what came next, Uncle Shane?
Well, the next year, we're going to start the morning off at 8 o'clock, and here's your choice. The all-new Super Friends Hour on ABC or the CB Bears.
That's a no-brainer, man. I didn't even know the CB Bears existed in anything other than name. It's the Super Friends. You've got
Yes.
Superman.
What's the super
Oh, Super
okay.
You've got
Friends is
Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman.
it's
Okay.
the Saturday morning
And they
DC
would stay at the
universe.
Hall
That
of
sounds
Justice, and then the supercomputer would come on and go, boop, 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 boop. We've got a problem at the North Pole, and then Wonder Woman would get in their plane, and they would go deal with it or whatever. And I couldn't get enough of it.
I loved it.
The League of Doom, where they came up with like 13 villains to match
Right.
the Super Friends. So you had two different teams, superheroes and supervillains, and I am there for it.
Now, who were the villains in the Scooby Laugh Olympics?
They were the really rottens.
The Really Rottens. Okay. So who would win in a battle? The Really Rottens
Or
or
the
the Legion of Doom?
The Legion of Doom would smoke them turkeys. The Really Rottens were a laughable joke of misfits thrown together as a foil for Scooby-Doo. Nothing too terribly serious. The Legion of Doom were put together to overthrow the universe. I cannot emphasize how different they were.
At 9:30 on NBC, you got the Godzilla Power Hour.
Up from the depths, 30 stories high, breathing fire, his head in the sky, Godzilla.
All right.
I loved it. I still watch the old Godzilla Japanese movies to this day. They're cheesy, they're terrible, and I enjoy them to no end.
Then we had Fantastic Four on NBC going up against the Super Friends.
Well, this is probably where I jumped ship because I am a Marvel man, have been since birth. And so, yeah, I likely jumped ship there. Fantastic Four is where it's at.
This was the Fantastic Four's first year, and Super Friends had been around for a while.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so you got Marvel and DC going up against each other in 1979. Actually, a few of my favorites come out in 1979 now that I'm looking at it. At 9 o'clock, right after the Super Friends, the Plastic Man Comedy Adventure Show came on. I loved the Plastic Man cartoons.
Plastic Man, he can spring, he can stretch, he can fly, he can bounce, he can change his shape, and he can even dance.
The
he had some
dancing was the
cool
best part. The dancing was the best part. It was a comedy adventure. I thought, as I remember, it was a pretty good blend of laughs and thrills. I thought that it had pretty good writing at the time. I was a fan of it. And then that was followed by Spider-Woman. Pretty good cartoon, too. So on ABC in 1979, they're giving you, 3.5 hours of superhero action, back to back to back. And then they'll end it with some Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo. And then right after Scooby-Doo on CBS, another live-action show that I liked, Jason of Star Command. Pretty good sci-fi show.
I never watched that.
For Saturday morning production standards, which were usually pretty low go for the live action shows. I thought it was a pretty good show. And I remember I had a book for like young adult readers,
Okay.
Jason of Star Command, and I read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty good year for me. Of course, I didn't watch Spider-Woman at 11 o'clock after Plastic Man because The New Adventures of Flash Gordon was on, which was an incredible series too. It was by Filmation. The animation was a cut above most. It came out a year before the 1980 movie.
Oh.
It didn't have
Got
anything to
people
do with the
interested
movie.
in the
They
movie,
were
though.
completely disconnected. Flash Gordon's been around since the 30s, but it was a really good show. So, gosh, 1979, what a year. Super Friends, then 2 hours of Plastic Man, and then switch channels, and then there's Flash Gordon. And then after Flash Gordon's off, stay on the same channel, there's Godzilla. And when
Right.
Godzilla's over, switch over to CBS, and Jason of Star Command's on.
It was a good Saturday.
It was a great Saturday.
And then when cartoons were over, I watched Bandstands. You watch Bandstands?
Yes, yeah. American Bandstand. Yeah, Dick Clark.
Absolutely. That's how you knew cartoons were over, when Dick Clark came on.
Right.
Okay, well, now we're dancing. All right, let's dance.
What a good year that was. Wow. Plastic Man, Flash Gordon, Jason of Star Command. Ben, what are some of the other cartoons that you've been re-watching lately?
Thunder the Barbarian should have never been canceled and should be running to this day. Lords of Light. Why did they ruin that show? If you do not know about this show, was it like 100 years after the moon is split? The whole world's gone crazy and magic is taken over, and it's a land of barbarians and witchcraft.
It's
and
a
monsters.
little sci-fi. It's a little sword and sorcery, and it's a whole lot of awesomeness.
Could not get enough of it. Absolutely loved it. It ran for like, I don't know, a season, maybe two. I own it on DVD. Love it.
The artwork was fantastic. They got some of the best comic book artists at the time. Jack Kirby, the great comic book artist, designed a lot of the characters.
I did not know that, but it makes sense.
It was written for young adults, so it wasn't silly like Scooby-Doo or a lot of the other ones. But neither was that Flash Gordon. The movie was a lot sillier than the cartoon of Flash Gordon from 1979. Thundar was fantastic. I'm not sure why it hasn't already been put on the silver screen in a live-action version twice already. We should already be on our third Thundar actor by now.
We should be. And I failed to mention Star Trek, the animated series. All of the original talent returns doing their own voices in the animated series. And it is about 2 or 3 seasons of just really fun things that they couldn't do with their limited budget on the series that they were able to do with animation. And it's really good animation.
That's neat.
And if you are a Star Trek fan, I cannot recommend it enough. It was so much fun. I recall it from the 70s, but I had forgotten everything. So when I got it again, it was new to me. And it was just a thrill a minute.
Now, interestingly enough, in 1980, CBS had a couple of shows on from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. The only network to have something that early and on a Sunday.
Smart. That's smart. Get us early.
It looks like Jason of Star Command got moved over there to 7:30. But at 7 o'clock, the 3 Robonic Stooges.
I sadly have to admit that I'm quite familiar with the 3 Robotic Stooges. It was awful. And
Robotic.
Are they robots?
They were robots. Yes, they were.
Or robons. What is a robonic? Is that like moronic or something?
There was no reason to watch that show other than it was on. It was a poor estimation of what the 3 Stooges were in their heyday. They were robots and they broke down and they did stupid stuff. And I recall watching some of it, but no, I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, who would win in a fight? The 3 Robonic Stooges versus Inspector Gadget. That's a pretty fair fight. That's a fair fight.
Yeah, I would watch Inspector Gadget. And again, that's not good television either. But between the two, go, Gadget, legs.
Let me list my favorites, Saturday morning cartoons.
Please.
I think number 1 for me is going to be Thundar the Barbarian.
He's awesome.
And then number 2, The New Adventures of Flash Gordon. Number 3, maybe Plastic Man. Number 4, maybe Jabberjaw.
Good stuff.
And number 5, let me just say ISIS. That's a good mix right there. Those are 5 great series from Saturday mornings. All right, Ben, what's yours?
You know, there were so many. Scooby-Doo is the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Gosh, Scooby-Doo's not even on my list. I don't know.
You know, we left out Help, It's the Hair Bear Bunch. I love the Hair Bear Bunch.
They really had scraggly hair.
And they were kind of hippie bears, and they did their own thing, and they broke out of the zoo every night just to upset the zookeeper. So that was good stuff. I liked the Globetrotters. That was good stuff. Granny drove the bus, and that was sort of another Scooby-Doo kind of throw-off. They kind of solved mysteries and did stuff with Granny.
You like the Godzilla. You like the Godzilla.
Yeah, I did love the Godzilla. My sister loved the Godzilla, and I loved to sing
Super
that song
Friends.
too. Super Friends, you cannot go wrong with. I lived for that kind of stuff.
The one cartoon that we didn't mention that I really liked was the Pink Panther cartoon.
Good point, ma'am.
The Pink Panther was a great cartoon. That was usually on in the mornings up against the Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes reruns. One of the characters in the Pink Panther series was the Inspector, based on the Inspector Clouseau character from the movies. I think in the cartoon they just called him the Inspector. There wasn't a lot of dialogue in the Pink Panther cartoons, so it was a lot of physical humor and sight gags.
So when I was researching about the Pink Panther, they mentioned that there was a laugh track in the cartoon. And so, like, I have never been around where cartoons have had laugh tracks in them.
That's not the only one.
And I know it was saying that it was very common for a lot of the cartoons to have laugh tracks. And I was like, what? Really? I knew that was a thing, but I didn't know it was in cartoons.
There were a few that did.
I think the original Scooby-Doo had a laugh track, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what? Scooby-Doo, the original Scooby-Doo, I believe,
Wow.
had a laugh track. I believe, yes. And you didn't question it. You just ate your cereal and watched it, Marlowe.
Yeah, because, I mean, for me, laugh tracks are just they're just weird.
It was weird to see a television comedy without a laugh track for a while. It was strange.
There was a time when Hollywood thought that they had to tell you when to laugh.
Yeah.
You didn't know when to laugh.
It's a little insulting to today's audience, but apparently I never gave it a thought. I'm like Shane. I guess that's just natural. They have a laugh track. Did I laugh with them? Maybe, maybe not. But, you know, they had one for sure.
You take the laugh track out of a sitcom, you know what you got, Marlowe?
What?
A drama.
A dramedy?
No, you just have a drama. You take a drama and you put a laugh track on it, you know what you have, Marlowe?
A comedy.
A comedy. A comedy.
It's probably not a great commentary on American society.
Yeah, laugh right now.
You people may be too stupid to watch this on your own. Laugh now.
Ben, it is always our pleasure to have you on Network Interference. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I
you.
sincerely hope that's how you feel. I come from a long line of hams, and I really like to get the center of attention.
Marlowe, is there any of the cartoons or shows that we talked about that you would be interested in watching?
I wouldn't mind checking out Plastic Man. I think that it seems interesting to me.
And that's because I hyped it up so much, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the ones that y'all hyped up, I thought, like, I haven't seen the Flash Gordon one, so
It's
I'd
great.
want to watch that one. I think that sounds interesting.
Watch the Star Trek one. It's the better
Yeah.
of the three.
Okay. I'll check it out.
How about you watch them back to back and then
see.
tell me that I'm right?
Okay.
All right, folks. We will listen to each other and talk at each other again on a future episode of Network Interference. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Lunavox. That's the name we came up with.